The replacement of SDGE wooden poles in the East County is finally finished.
Omicron has mutated. What you need to know about this subvariant that's spreading quickly.
Plus, efforts by lawmakers to make California a sanctuary state for abortions and reproductive freedom.
A drive-through food pantry in North Park is in danger of shutting down over alleged code violations.
And an LAPD officer comes to the rescue and saves the life of a choking child. Tonight, we hear from the heroic officer.
And just how far would you go to help your neighborhood? Meet the man who bought $1 million eyesore.
CBS 8 News Live at 6 starts now.
A $700 million project to upgrade SDGE power lines in East County is finally finished. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. SDGE says the upgrades will reduce both wildfires and public safety power shutoffs. As News 8's David Gottfredson reports, the capital improvements could also lead to big profits.
It was primarily wood to steel pole replacement.
The $700 million price tag to replace wooden poles and upgrade power lines only covers capital improvements in the East County, according to SDG&E project manager Tim Node.
The work that we did on this project will definitely make the San Diego County backcountry safer.
SDG&E calls it fire hardening, with a goal of fewer wildfires and reducing the number of public safety power shutoffs.
A fire-hardened electric system is less likely to be subject to public safety power shutoffs. The conductors were also put further apart from each other, so we have greater ground-to-sky clearance as well as wire-to-wire clearance, which provides benefits in high winds and Santa Ana wind-type conditions.
But critics of SDG&E say the real reason for these expensive projects is profit.
All these fire hardening expenses are just driving our rates through the roof.
Ratepayer advocate Bill Powers has testified before the Public Utilities Commission about guaranteed profit margins companies like SDG&E make on large capital projects like the ones in the East County.
Any hardware they own, they make money on, they make profit on. All they have to do is convince a commission to give them the green light and they get an automatic profit of whatever it is, 10 or 12%.
SDG&E says their motivation is fire prevention and public safety.
Bottom line is that customers pay for this, though, right? In their monthly bills, right?
As with our capital projects, those investments we do get cost recovery for.
Powers questions the need for wooden pole replacement in the first place.
The wood poles were in fine condition and had nothing to do with the fires. But for a layperson, they hear, okay, wood burns and steel doesn't burn, so I guess it makes sense.
SDG&E says that $700 million price tag also included undergrounding 14 miles of power lines and completely removing 19 miles of power lines, so that may also help reduce wildfires. Marcella?
It's glad to see that those power lines are now underground. As for the rate hikes, David, doesn't the Public Utilities Commission regulate the profit margins of the utility companies?
Yes, because the utilities have a monopoly, their profit margins are regulated. But ratepayer advocates say the current profit margin, around 10%, should really be reduced.
A story that we're following closely with those rates rising. Thanks so much, David.
Investigators are looking for a man that they say assaulted a sheriff's deputy today and ran off. It happened around 7 this morning on Persimmon Avenue, just south of Greenfield in El Cajon. Members of the Fugitive Task Force were serving a warrant for the man's arrest when it happened. 33-year-old Noel Suleiman is described as 5'8", about 150 pounds. He's an Iraqi native with brown hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information should call the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. The Biden administration is officially withdrawing its mandate that workers at large companies get vaccinated or regularly tested for COVID-19. OSHA made the announcement today, but the agency still strongly encourages that workers get vaccinated. The vaccine or test mandate was announced back in November, but it was struck down by the Supreme Court nearly 2 weeks ago. The rule remains in effect for healthcare workers.
The World Health Organization is keeping a close eye on a new COVID variant that's quickly making its way around the world.
It's a mutation from the Omicron variant, and medical experts say it's so new they don't know a lot about it. CBS 8's Steve Price spoke with a local doctor about what some are calling stealth Omicron.
Omicron spread quickly across San Diego, hitting our county hard. And now, just as we're starting to turn the corner, Omicron has mutated, and this new subvariant may be even more contagious. But experts say at this point, the symptoms don't appear to be any more severe.
It's already been detected in 40 countries, including the U.S., where it's been seen in at least 22 states, including California. This variant of Omicron is called BA2, and while local health officials haven't confirmed it's been detected in San Diego, experts believe it's here.
Every time we try to close the door and keep these new variants out, it's too late. You know, they've already spread.
Dr. Mark Sawyer with Rady Children's Hospital and UCSD knows your first question: will the vaccine work against it? Unfortunately, right now, it's too early to answer that.
You may not be completely protected from getting infected and transmitting it to others. We certainly learned that with Omicron. Lots of fully vaccinated and boosted people still managed to get the infection, but they weren't very sick.
While that's good news, it's still frustrating for many that 2 years into the pandemic, we're still seeing surges and variants with unknown symptoms.
These variants are probably just going to keep popping up over time, and we're just going to have to learn how to deal with it. You know, I mean, the vaccinations are helping, masking helps, but I don't know, it's getting old.
BA2 is also called stealth Omicron because the tests hospitals and health departments used to identify the original Omicron variant don't work for this one. That said, COVID testing, including the ones taken at home, will still give you a positive result if you have it, which makes this variant just like the rest. If you have it, stay home and help stop the spread. Despite how hard Omicron has hit San Diego, Dr. Sawyer believes better days are not that far away.
So I'm looking forward optimistically to the spring. I do think we're going to be over Omicron and back to sort of the way we were in the fall, sort of coexisting with COVID.
In Kearney Mesa, Steve Price, News 8.
Thanks, Steve. Restaurants across the state say they are still struggling and that Omicron is making things even worse. Today, the California Restaurant Association released results of a new survey covering more than 4,000 restaurants. It found that Omicron forced about half of the restaurants to reduce hours. 29% adjusted their days of operation, and some have temporarily closed.
But it just makes it that much harder for that restaurant to recover from this pandemic. If you're limited in how much you can be open.
The California Restaurant Association wants Congress to replenish the funding for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. That is a $28 billion fund.
A San Diego woman is going after the NFL in court for letting the Chargers move to Los Angeles.
A lawsuit was filed yesterday by a former city attorney on behalf of a local woman. It claims the league's relocation policies were violated when all team owners approved the Chargers move to LA. The lawsuit goes on to allege the NFL and Chargers breached the policy by failing to negotiate in good faith with city officials and hiding that plans to move had been in the works since 2006. A court hearing has been scheduled for July. Today, county supervisors adopted an ordinance regulating ghost guns. Supervisors voted 3-2 to approve the ordinance, banning the distribution or creation of the untraceable weapons and requiring safe firearm storage. Supervisors Joel Anderson and Jim Desmond voted against the measure. This follows an initial vote earlier this month to consider the ordinance for approval. It comes after similar action by the city of San Diego.
Cycling across the city of San Diego is about to get easier and safer.
And that's great news. Officials with Sandag joined local leaders today for the start of construction on the Pershing Bikeway. The $13.4 million project will add a protected two-way bike path through Balboa Park. Once complete, the 2.3-mile bikeway is expected to help improve connectivity for people who bike and walk between North Park and downtown San Diego. We're a big biking family. Looking forward to checking that out.
Food distribution centers have been vital for San Diegans struggling through this pandemic. Drive-through food lines have cropped up throughout the county.
However, one distribution center might be shut down for violating city codes. CBS 8's Tim Blodgett has this story from North Park.
It's a sight we've seen very often during the worst of the pandemic. Lines of cars waiting to pick up bags of food from drive-through distribution centers, putting much-needed nutrition on the table for thousands of San Diegans. Since September of 2020, nonprofit Uptown Community Service Center has been handing out bags of food Mondays and Fridays under this small tent on the corner of 30th and Landis in North Park.
If they didn't have enough money for groceries, being able to get pantry food would then allow them to put their money towards their rent or towards other bills.
Uptown Community Service Center Executive Director Allison Rowland says everything was going smoothly and the organization had already served 700 families to date. But earlier this month, she received a call from a code enforcement officer from the city of San Diego.
And he contacted me to let me know that our superfood pantry drive-through distribution was part of a larger complaint against us by some neighbors, and that we needed to stop the drive-through distribution.
I reached out to the city and they told me there is an active investigation into the distribution center and couldn't go into more detail. The claim made against St. Luke's Episcopal Church, which owns the vacant lot where the drive-through is based, says Uptown Community Service Center might not be following several city codes as cars block roads and sidewalks while waiting to get their food. The officer suggested switching to a walk-up system to be in compliance with city code.
The intent of the drive-through pantry was to avoid or to minimize contact with people.
The city official I spoke to says the drive-thru can continue to operate while the investigation is ongoing, but when the city completes its findings, could mean the superfood pantry would be shut down, leaving needy families to find other options. District 3 Council member Stephen Whitburn is against the investigation, saying, quote, Uptown Community Service Center provides vital community services. Especially when we are still going through a pandemic, it is imperative now more than ever that these essential services to our community stay in place.
We want to be a part of offering people some hope and support.
Tim Blodgett, CBS 8.